to enable them continue the execution of their contracts. And then we're also concerned because everybody is happy that the CD has become very strong. The exchange rate is coming down. But what is its effect on the cost of living despite the gains that we are experiencing? It is important that certain actions are taken to ensure that the downward trend of the cedi to the dollar, or the appreciation of the city, will have a reflection of the cost of living in our country. Then we're also looking at social services and security. The first aspect since the takeover by the government is the energy crisis. As we speak now, Doomsor has returned. Doomsor is back. And the interesting thing is that one may look at it as maybe a political propaganda, but it is interesting to note that even on the social media, we came by footages or videos of our own NDC parliamentarians who were complaining and were concerned about how it is affecting the businesses of their citizens, 3 of them. And it is affecting everybody. I went home to Kumasi, I went to my constituency, and the rampant shutdown of supply of power has always become, and then everybody is saying that Bahama left with darkness and he's come back with darkness. And that is what we are concerned about. We had the energy minister assuring us that he was going to put this particular issue, crisis, he's going to deal with it within the shortest possible time. But we are still experiencing, and we don't have any clear solution. I remember only recently he came back announcing that we are left with some few days, 26 days or something, and we will be having a regular power supply. So one of the things that we are calling for is to ensure that Doomsor, our current government, will bring back the light for businesses to thrive. Then we are looking at accountability and parliamentary oversight. What we, the minority, are saying that we will demand answers on recent payments to MPs. One of the things is that we cannot just sweep under the rug. How much is coming in and what are we using it for? And then we're talking about the publication of presidential travels. The unfortunate thing that we have seen is that currently what is on the table is that we've seen our president and even the vice president travel with a private jet. We have the excuse is that it is financed by a private individual. If that is the case, it is important that we know and know what will be the benefit for that person. Are you fueling, or what are you giving back in return? Because it cannot be that free. And then we also demanded that Ablekuma seat, the Ablekuma North election results, must be announced, because the people are currently not represented in Parliament. And we know for sure that the figures details that the MPP candidate has won. All that is required is then security to come around, and then the announcement made, and then the representative can begin to represent the people in Parliament. And then our expectations going forward, we believe that Parliament must reassert its oversight role. The minority pledges to lead with vigilance and constitutional fidelity, challenge illegalities, and protect Ghana's democracy. And we also push for real action on repealing punitive taxes and tackling illegal mining. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minority Leader. At this juncture, we will all listen to the Majority Leader's address. Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you very much. Let me commend the Public Relations Department for putting together this media briefing exercise. And let me thank the Clerk of Parliament, very hard-working gentleman, very knowledgeable in the practice of Parliament, provides guidance to all of us, provides guidance to the Speaker, leadership, retains institutional memory that we continue to feed on in order to deliver the highest standards of parliamentary democracy, which has become the envy of Africa, and I believe we are beginning to even share our experiences with some places in North America and Europe. Very often we are called upon as a parliament to share our experiences because we are developing models that are not familiar even to well-developed democracy. So I commend you and your staff for the support that we have been getting as leadership. You know, when you are arrested for a criminal offense and you are prosecuted, you cannot say, oh, my Lord, I didn't know there is a law to that effect. You know that? That is a famous saying that ignorance of the law is no excuse. That is why this exercise and the role of the media is very, very important. You are the ones that will help us as we discuss legislation. You project the discussions, you relay the discussions to the populace so that they get to know that their parliament is considering a legislation that says that I shall not drive at 100 kilometers per hour when I am approaching a traffic light. When we enact the legislation, it is partly your province as media to relay the information to the public. And so, as a parliament, you are our natural allies and partners. We represent the people, but we may not all be able to broadcast to all our constituents exactly what bills have been passed, what the contents of the bills are, what offenses have been created, which other offenses have been repealed. And so to have a press corps that on a daily basis reports what happens in this house and enables the citizenry to be aware of what we do is a very important exercise. And so you are our partners, and we commend you. Over the years, you've done well. There are, of course, some instances when we have misrepresented, but those are minor incidents. They are not in the majority of cases. So overall, I will say that our press corps has done very well. This meeting is about to begin, and we once again call on you as our partners to work diligently with us. Sometimes we are here till 1 a.m. and you must be here with us till 1 a.m. We start late and you come early. You have to wait for us to start late. So you're always here with us, so we commend you for that. I think essentially the exercise this morning is to brief you on the agenda for this meeting of Parliament. I think that the easiest thing to do, every one of you, is to get a copy of this. This is a public document. I think it's on our website. It should be on our website. And so once you get it, you will have a copy of the agenda of Parliament. And I think that the public relations officer has to also, when you have the opportunity, announce to everybody our website, how to get there, and how to navigate our website, and the opportunities that we provide citizens to follow proceedings in Parliament, because I also know that proceedings are streamed live. We are in discussions with the Speaker of Parliament for a live broadcast also of our proceedings. In other jurisdictions, they have live broadcasts of the proceedings of Parliament, and that helps the citizens to follow, because they sent us here, and they ought to keep an eye on us as we do our work. So our websites and our social media handles provide opportunity for live reportage of what is happening, and citizens can follow us. So the agenda, basically, we pass legislation, they come to us as bills, we refer them to committees, committees work on them, they report back to us. Then if they make recommendations for amendments, we take them through consideration stage. Then, when we are done, we take them through the last reading, and then we pass it on to the president. The president gives his assent, and it becomes law. Some business was pending before we went on recess. So, for instance, we have the bills at committee stage, which is the Ghana Cocoa Board Amendment Bill. It is at the Finance Committee. We also have some instruments, that's the Corporate Insolvency and Restructuring Regulations. We have the Environmental Protection, Money in Forest Reserves Amendment Regulation. It was late, I recall. And then we have the Corporate Insolvency and Restructuring Regulations, which was also sent to us. We have papers to be presented. They are all listed. There are so many. If I'm going to go through them, we won't finish this morning. We have about 17 papers so far, but many more will be coming. Normally what happens is that we refer documents to committees, and then the committees are supposed to bring us back reports. And so those are what we call papers to be presented. And then we also have statutes that require that institutions report to us. We don't just give you money. We give you money, and then we require that annually you submit a report to us. So those are reports that come to us. So if you want to monitor any institution and how they are performing, you check with Parliament. You'll find out there's a report on that institution every year. So you can just use their reports to track the performance of the institution. So for instance, we have the budget performance report in respect of the audit service for the period January to December 2024. We have the budget performance report in respect of Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry for the period January to December 2024. We have the budget performance report in respect of the National Commission for Civic Education for the period January to December 2024. The budget performance report in respect of the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources for the period January to December 2024. And on, Office of the Attorney General, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Fisheries, Energy Sector Levies, the report on the management of the energy sector levies and accounts for the year 2024, the Public Debt Management Report, how our public debt is managed, the report of the Auditor General on the recoveries made from disallowed expenditure in the Auditor General's report from 2020 to 2023, and payroll savings on 31st December 2024, annual report of the Forestry Commission for the year 2022, budget performance report in respect of Office of the Head of the Civil Service for the period January to December 2024, budget performance report in respect of Ministry of Transport for the period January to December 2024. So you see, every year we receive reports of the previous year. And then as a parliament, we're supposed to review the performance of the institutions and how well they are doing, because you don't give people money and not ask them to report back to you. So we receive the reports and then we consider them. Then motions for debate. There's a motion for the consideration of the formula for the National Health Insurance Fund, which we will be looking at. We considered that of Common Fund, we considered that of Get Fund. It is left with the National Health Insurance Fund. So that is coming to us. We expect it this week, and that will show how the fund is to be disbursed for the 2025 financial year. Then referrals at committees. There are some matters that have been referred to committees. The Petroleum Fund report has been referred. The utilization of African Union import levy. Auditor General on the statement of foreign exchange receipts. District Assembly Common Fund for the year 2023. Staffing positions of the Office of the President. All those have been referred to committees. Other referrals include an investigation into the violent confrontation that characterized the meeting of the Appointments Committee in the evening of Thursday, 30th January 2025, and the morning of Friday, 31st January 2025, causing fierce public outrage about Parliament. If you recall, it was referred to a committee. The committee investigated. The sittings took place in this very hall, and the report is supposed to be considered. Now we have also, we refer questions. We have over 130 about questions. I doing the road in my constituency. Other foreign affairs issues about our relationships with Burkina matters to global matters, foreign. Let me orders, and included in the standing orders provisions for independent constitutional bodies, and they include the, I think, Auditor General, Electoral Commission, NCCE, SHRAJ, who else? Other constitutional bodies, all constitutional bodies under the Constitution. They are called independent constitutional bodies. In the past, MPs could not ask them questions, and they could not come and answer questions mandatorily. But with these new standing orders amendments, you have to come and, before the Committee of the Whole, answer the questions that parliamentarians ask of you as the head of an independent constitutional body. So those are the new developments that we have, which is to strengthen our democracy, strengthen the oversight responsibilities of Parliament. Now, we've given the agenda. Yesterday, I made a statement on the floor, and I gave you an indication of government business. Now, the agenda may not necessarily capture the whole of government business. All these are, government businesses that will come to this house. There are so many, I can't give you all the details because we are still sifting through. We are still having discussions with the ministers. The idea is that usually at the beginning of Parliament, we invite them to meetings, and then we get to know what they intend to bring so that we can discuss what is possible within a meeting. We can only do as much within a certain meeting so that we can prioritize, and then that then comes and then is included. If a bill or a regulation or a report or anything has not been formally presented to the House through the Speaker, we will not capture it here as part of the agenda. But I can show you approvals given by Cabinet for matters that should be brought for the consideration of Parliament. I also have letters from ministers indicating exactly what they intend to bring. Some of them are not fully ready because they are either pending cabinet approval, or in fact, they have just given drafting instructions to the Attorney General's office and they are busy working on them, but they hope to bring them during this meeting so that we will consider them. Whatever we are unable to consider, we will push it to the next meeting of Parliament. So those are the key things. I don't want to repeat all the things that I said yesterday because I'm sure you captured them yesterday. But basically, those are the matter. If you recall, in our budget statement, the government indicated that we're abolishing the development authorities. So a legislation has to come to repeal the laws that establish the development authorities. But the development authorities were performing certain functions. Some of the functions belong to district assemblies, others belong to regional coordinating councils, and the development authorities had certain assets and had also started certain projects. So you have to find a way of reassigning the functions to the appropriate entity. So there will be a legislation to that effect. There are major issues that Cabinet approved for us to legislate on, and we'll wait for the ministers to bring the documents before we will. For instance, Cabinet gave approval for the name of the Tamale Airport to be changed from Yakubu Tali Airport to a different name. There are decisions on new holidays for Muslims. There are so many decisions that Cabinet has given, that approval the Cabinet has given, that the ministers will bring to us to implement. I have copies of everything because I'm there, and then when they write to Speaker, I'm copied. So I know all this. So these will all come to Parliament for us to work on in this meeting, in addition to some of the things that I mentioned yesterday. As for my colleague, the Deputy Minority Leader, and the concerns that have been raised, briefly, let me touch on some of them. We will work with the minority because, as you know, I'm a strong believer in parliamentary democracy. I believe strongly that parliaments hold the democracy. It is the only space where all the diverse opinions in a democratic setup must sit together and work together and find expression. And so if you are in charge of that space and you are not tolerant, you are not admitting of diverse opinions, you cannot manage that space, successfully. And so I will tolerate, divergent views and etc. And I will work with all sides. Where I am wrong or where my side is wrong, I'm sure everybody in this country knows that I'm one person who will admit that we are wrong. And therefore, we should not continue along those paths. So I can assure you that you will have a majority side that is very cooperative and working with you. Washington, D.C. I spoke with the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and he said what really happened was that they discovered that some elements among their staff were collaborating with some local staff that they had recruited, and they had designed a scheme where when people applied for visa, the application was redirected to a private company. And the private company, the payments were made to the private company. The private company took the money, and then that was a problem. It was a clear corrupt arrangement. And when he discovered it, he immediately took a decision to withdraw our staff there. Now, if you withdraw the staff there, how will the embassy function? You have to shut it down until you send a replacement staff. So you disengage, or he suspended the local staff that were engaged, and then he withdrew immediately our staff, and he immediately dispatched a new team who will be arriving there, I think, this morning, and by tomorrow, Thursday, the embassy will be fully operational and functional. Please tell me how wrong this decision is. Because you can't also allow them to remain there and continue to undermine the image and reputation of your country. By the time we heard, the intelligence agencies in those countries have picked it up. And then the public that is, assessing our services have picked it up. So you have to take quick and immediate measures to redeem the image of the country. And I will highly commend the Minister for Foreign Affairs for the swiftness, the steadfastness, and the commitment to fighting corruption and maintaining our reputation as a country that will not tolerate corruption anywhere, anytime, anyhow. So I don't think that there's anything to be worried about in terms of the measures taken. They have been swift, they are effective. What do you call it? The disruption is not significant, it's just about 1 or 2 days, and so it will not materially, affect the services that people are requesting for. And I don't think we should make too much. We should be commending the minister for taking such action. As for the minister coming to Parliament to explain, when I called him yesterday, you saw he came into the chamber, and he was actually ready and available to explain to Parliament exactly what happened, except that we had a lot of business, and we said, let's reschedule for you to come and explain to Parliament. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with raising it, but also we will give you the explanation. Now, statutory payments, especially to the health insurance, we haven't even approved the formula, so the payment cannot be effected. We haven't approved it, so Parliament hasn't approved the payment, so the finance minister cannot pay when Parliament hasn't approved the payment. So it's this week that we're hoping the Parliament will approve the payment, and then the finance minister will make the payments. Common fund, there's a change in government. The assemblies are being reconstituted. The leadership is being appointed. I'm sure you're all media people who have been covering the various voting that is taking place in the various district assemblies. If you had sent the money, who will oversee the money? Who is going to spend the money? The money is going to be spent by the assemblies, and the assemblies are not in existence. So even though we approved the formula, the finance minister was holding the money and waiting. When we actually have the assemblies in place, and the MCEs and the DCEs and the mayors in place, then he will release the funds to them. Now that a majority of the MCEs and the DCEs are in place, I can actually show you a cabinet approval of the distribution of the funds as approved by, Parliament. And also, we took a decision that whilst we are sending the funds to the assemblies, we need to guide the utilization of the funds, because the president has had to fight at the central level to restrain everybody from touching the money at the central level. In the past, hardly anything used to move from the center to the districts. But we took a policy decision that not less than 80% of the money must hit the accounts of the district assemblies, the metropolitan assemblies, and the municipal assemblies. And very soon you will hear the figures that are actually getting to the assemblies. They are colossal sums of money. Last night, the finance minister sent me a copy of the actual amounts that are going to the assemblies. And if you compare them with the actual amounts that used to get to the assemblies when my sister, my sweetheart's government was in power, you will see that there were paltry sums. This is huge amount of money that will be going to the assemblies. Indeed, some members of Parliament might even be wondering if they shouldn't have been district chief executives to be managing and supervising such huge projects in the assemblies. But we want to make sure that when the resources go to the assemblies, they are actually applied to deal with important matters at the assemblies. So for instance, you can't spend more than, let's say, 5% of what we are sending to you for administration. I hope you understand. So we expect the rest of the money, most of it should go into capital expenditure, which is, building, schools, building health facilities, fixing water projects, providing water in the communities, doing the roads, and etc. So those are the kind of guidelines to deal with sanitation issues and etc. This is very elaborate. I have it. I just, I'm still having discussions with the finance minister whether he would like to come to Parliament and read the guidelines or I should put them out there. But the guidelines are there. The money has been transferred, and we will want to have, and then also we are going to up the responsibility of parliamentarians to monitor the utilization and report, because the parliamentarians are also being given a budget to monitor the utilization. I'm sure it came up recently, and then people were wondering why parliamentarians should be given a share of the fund for monitoring. We need to monitor, because if you give somebody, hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis to do projects, and then you don't assign somebody to monitor and report to you on what that person is doing, people will just misapply the funds, and we'll just be replacing central government wastage with local government waste and abuse. This government and President John Dramani Mahama doesn't want that to happen. So the payments will be made. Now, contracts and etc. payments, we came and then we realized that yes, a lot of projects awarded. Some important, others just motivated by political considerations, not really priorities. Some, the prices cannot just be justified. And so if you just start throwing money at those projects, some were awarded without recourse to whether they had even been budgeted for in all the budgets that we have approved in this Parliament. So the finance minister had to sit down and sift through all these and have it audited so that he can decide which ones to pay. And so far, the audit process is going on well, and I want to assure you that the payments will take place very, 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 very soon. Yeah, so those are the issues, and she's raised them, we're responding to them. As for the judiciary and what is happening in the judiciary, I think that as a coordinate branch of government, we should be mindful the extent to which we go interfering in the work of other branches of government. I am a lawyer by training. I pay attention to the process. So far, I have not heard anybody specifically say that this part of the process is not provided for in the Constitution. I have not seen anyone. I have listened to all the discussions. Not one single, indication that this step in the process. People are throwing innuendos. People are speculating. Oh, why is it that these lawyers who are known to be lawyers who have ever represented X, Y, Z are the ones who are also representing the people that somebody decides to choose as lawyers? It's not my business. Are you getting the situation? My business is whether or not the process is respected. Are you getting the situation? Now, somebody says, I want the hearing to be held in public. I want a transparent process. Did the Constitution say a transparent process? Did the Constitution say a process in camera? If the Constitution said a process in camera, when you are being vetted in this Parliament and you are being appointed as the Chief Justice, why didn't you say that I am accepting the job subject to me not accepting the procedure for removing me? If you had told us at that time, would we have appointed you as Chief Justice? It comes as a package. The Constitution creates the office of Chief Justice, and the same Constitution creates the procedure by which the Chief Justice should be removed. If you accept the office, you must accept the procedure by which you are going to be removed. It's a package. You cannot accept to enjoy the perks of the office of Chief Justice, and then the procedure by which you will be removed, you say that you not accept that one. Where were you when you were being appointed Chief Justice? So sometimes I don't even understand where people are coming from. So let's be clear when we are communicating to the public. The president has not engaged in one single wrongdoing in this whole process. The petitions were not sent Some of the petitions didn't even go now. Some of the petitions were sent by the petitioners even when the previous president was there, and we're aware. So let's not misrepresent things to the public. As for the number of appointments, we've been debating this for God knows how long, whether we should have a ceiling to the membership of the Supreme Court or not. At one time or the other, people get convinced about one argument or the other. Some people say, let's behave like the U.S. where we have a cap, just 7. Others say the U.S. Supreme Court, its functions are not the same as your Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court focuses really on constitutional matters. They are not obliged to deal with all appeals, but here appeals go to the Supreme Court as of right. So if there are 1,000 appeals, the Supreme Court can say, no, we won't take the 1,000 appeals. In the U.S., if there are 1,000 appeals, the Supreme Court can say, to hell with 999 of your appeals. We will deal with only one because it is only that one that we think has relevance when it comes to constitutional jurisprudence. And that's the only one we'll deal with this year. Supreme Court of the U.S. can do that. But in Ghana, the Supreme Court has to deal with all the 1,000 appeals because they come as of right. So people have argued that you need a large force there. Now the question is whether the economy can support. For me, that should always be the question. When you are vetting, you should be asking questions about, can the economy support that number? If the economy can support it, why not? And even then, before we assumed office, we're told about the need to appoint judges because a lot of the judges are retiring, if you recall. And we looked at it, and we said at that time, I recall, I'm a member of the appointments committee. I was a member of the appointments committee at that time. And our position was that the sitting president had had enough opportunities to appoint people to the Supreme Court. And the vacancies that were occurring, he should allow for the next president to also be given an opportunity to fill in those vacancies. In fact, at that time, either one had actually retired and some were yet to retire, and the president had made nominations in anticipation of those retiring. Then we said, wait, why don't you wait till they actually retire, and why don't you allow whoever becomes the next president to also have an opportunity to fill in those vacancies, because you filled in so many vacancies. So allow others to also have an opportunity to fill in vacancies. God, being who he is, has done what he thinks fair and changed government, and the NPP has lost, and the NDC has come into office. The NDC is making those replacements that you were advocating for. And you're saying that there are too many. And let me assure you, I am one of those who have been advocating. That indeed the Supreme Court should have enough numbers so that we can have a northern bench. Because all litigants in the north, when they have to appeal, will have to come down to Accra. In the past, they could get access to justice in Kumasi. And then, it means that litigation becomes more expensive for those of us who are from the north. Being a member of parliament representing the north, I have to continue advocating that we must have enough numbers so that if you have a southern bench, we can also have a northern bench. And then those of us who are practicing in the north can also have access to justice when we have to appeal cases. For me, the critical question at all times is, can our economy support it? And if we can show that the economy can support it, I don't have a problem with the process. I think on that note, we have committed ourselves to starting proceedings on time. People have been raising issues about how we start proceedings late in this house, and we don't want that to continue as a culture. But normally it is things like this that actually delay the process. Behind the scenes, there are a lot of activities taking place. And if some of the actors that must be there before we commence proceedings are not available, the speakers can't start. So as you see, leadership is here. So the front bench is not available. And so long as we remain in this room, the speaker you saw walked in to try and then nudge us to leave the place and come so that he can start proceedings on time. So we'll make it a culture to start proceedings on time. And also, we expect the media to also be with us on time so that we can start. So let me thank you very much for coming. Let me assure you that this is going to be a very busy meeting of Parliament, and all the things that I said we will do yesterday, and the things that the Speaker also promised that we will do, and others that my colleagues as parliamentarians will propose for us to do will be done, and we expect consistent, good, reliable coverage from you as members of the media. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the leader. Leader, we are very grateful for the commendation, but for the records, the department is the Media Relations Department. Thank you very much. Honorable members, fellow colleagues from the press, unfortunately, because of the constraint of time, we will not be able to take questions.
You can do questions tomorrow. I don't mind. I can come back tomorrow for questions. So you can go and I think you all
Around the same.
I will also, by tomorrow when we meet, I can actually, I have the cabinet memos, but they are confidential documents. So I need objective. No, this I don't intend to be covered.
Thank you very much, leader. All right, so we'll reconvene tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you very much. Kindly